Hi and welcome to the Mumpreneurs MK Lounge, a YouTube channel shining a light on inspirational mums in enterprise and women in the community. I am your host, Bianca Chappell, and I have got the wonderful Helen Jones from Daisy First Aid in the studio with us today to share her journey about how she hung up her handcuffs and went from keeping our streets safe to now running a business that keeps our children safe. Helen, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here today.
It's lovely to be here.
So I want you to share with the ladies and our viewers your journey of being a mumpreneur so far, because as I introduced to our viewers before, you were actually a policewoman.
I was indeed, yes.
And you were responsible for keeping our streets safe and completely done a U-turn and went to now running a business that is about supporting first aid and I guess awareness for first aid.
Definitely raising a lot of awareness for first aid as well, yes.
So tell us a little bit about Daisy First Aid as the brand.
So Daisy First Aid is a franchise and I own the Milton Keynes franchise. So it was a brand that was set up by an ex-colleague of mine actually in 2014, and the whole purpose really of the brand is paediatric first aid and raising awareness really and teaching parents, people that perhaps have got no first aid training at all, what to do if something happens to their baby or their child.
Because it's quite easy for us to just ignore the importance of first aid when you become a parent, isn't it? We just rely on the paramedics. Sometimes we don't always have access to them when we need it.
Yeah. So it's important, and lots of people have no first aid training at all, or if they have had first aid training, a lot of it is work related. It's focused on adults, and when it comes to the baby or child, they're not sure what to do.
Yeah. So let's just rewind all the way back to well before Daisy First Aid days. Yeah. What was the moment when you decided to hang up the handcuffs and start on this journey? What was going on in your life at the time?
So I became a mum. That was probably my biggest motivation. So I've got a 5-year-old boy. I went back to work after I had him, and then my second pregnancy, I had twins, and those girls are 3 years old now, so I have twins, 3-year-old twin girls, and I wanted a better balance for my life, something that I could do around my children. Yeah, that was my main motivation for changing to what I do. With regards to what I do now, I'd been following the Daisy First Aid journey, I suppose, on social media.
Oh, okay. So you were familiar with the brand.
I was familiar with it. I'd always thought it was a good idea, and I had an incident where my first child was choking and my mum was looking after him, and thankfully I wasn't on shift that day, but it could have been a day that I was on shift, but she kept that day always, and she didn't know what to do. And I was there, and thankfully I was there, so I sorted that situation out, and that made me realise I was the only person in my house that was trained.
That knew what to do.
I hadn't realised my partner, nobody had mentioned it at all in any of our journey as parents. And then I thought, this is actually a really, really important thing to do. So it just came naturally when I realised that I hadn't got time to go back. This is what I was going to do, and I knew that's what I was going to do, so I did.
And how does one manage running a business? I know it's a franchise model, but when you run a franchise, it is still a business baby that you need to raise off the ground.
Absolutely.
So how do you get yourself into, I guess, the mindset of no longer being part of an institution, but now being mum to 3 and starting a business, raising it off the ground whilst being mummy? It's the great mum versus mumpreneur balance. What are your strategies? How do you do it? Or do you just wing it? Does it just happen?
It doesn't just happen, absolutely, definitely not, no. So I think one thing that I've definitely discovered from having a business is that it's a lot harder work than it looks from the outside. Yeah. So it has been a case of finding that balance, and it hasn't been easy, and I still don't think I have it right, but I've worked at it, but you have to, I think, remember the reason why you started the business in the first place. And if you remember that, then you need to set your boundaries as to how much work that you want to do, and be firm really, and say no when it's too much, but also strive when you know that you want to achieve more. But finding that balance is not easy at all. But I've got quite good now at doing a business plan, I suppose, for the week, so that I've tried to set myself time that I'm with my children and time that I'm going to focus on the business. And it's still hard to stick to that, but I do try my best to do that.
It is something that we all are going to encounter. And I think you are so right when you say that, business is harder on the inside than it appears.
Yeah.
I wonder, Helen, if you have seen any shifts in yourself in terms of you are now at the top in terms of your business is you. Mm. Have you found that your life has altered dramatically as a result of now being a mum in enterprise? Are there things that have had some significant changes that one has to do in order to position themselves as the boss?
I think a lot of that is coming from, I'd say the biggest thing for me is growing my confidence to get out there and having faith in myself, really, that I know what I deliver is good. I'm making a difference. So the journey has been quite a long one, but I think really probably what I'm most proudest of that when I hear somebody come back to me and tell me, I saved my own child's life. I realised that my child had meningitis because I came to your class. That kind of thing just fills me with joy. So then I want to do more. So
I was going to ask, what's your motivator? But I guess apart from being a mummy, that is one of your big motivators.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want everybody that leaves my class to have the confidence to do what I've taught them to do. I really hope that it's never going to happen, most of this, to them. And I always say that it's better to know it and not need it than the other way around. Yes. Yeah.
So with that in mind, I know you've got one of your... I was going to say your dummies there, but I guess I should call it baby, shouldn't I?
I call her Daisy.
Daisy, so we've got Daisy. So I guess it'd be really nice to show us some very basic, quick tips, quick response stuff that we can do for infant first aid.
Yeah, so this is Daisy. She's a baby, so she's under the age of 12 months. Okay. So when you come to one of my classes, you obviously get to practice. I have got child mannequins as well for older. But one of the things I teach in my classes is the baby recovery position.
Right.
Okay, so lots of people tend to be familiar with the adult or the older recovery position, but when it comes to the baby recovery position, they're not really sure what to do.
And I guess babies are so fragile, aren't they? So you just,
So what I'm going to show you now is the position that we would put Daisy in if we found her unresponsive, unconscious, but she is breathing, okay? And the whole purpose of what we're going to do is to try and maintain that airway open for her, okay? Right. So the baby recovery position, we're going to make sure that the head is lower than the chest, so slight incline, and then the legs are slightly higher again. We want to make sure we're supporting that head in a neutral position, okay? So babies have a tendency to do a lot of this chin into the chest, and we want to make sure that the neutral position on the head. And then we want to make sure that we've got the mouth pointing towards the floor, so any fluids can drain away. So what we're trying to achieve is to make sure any fluids drain away, but also that the tongue doesn't flop back and cover that airway, so it keeps it nice and open. So it's a very simple technique. And I go through that in a bit more detail on my classes as to how we make sure that she is breathing, and I show the breathing check and what we do to determine whether she's responsive or not. And then we learn that technique. So it's a really important technique. And we'd use that until she was about 12 months, and then we would change to using the other recovery position, which people are more familiar with.
I mean, it seems so simple just watching you do a demonstration like that, but I would never think, being a mum, to put the baby in that sort of position to do recovery. I automatically think not breathing, start doing compressions.
No, but this is if they're breathing. Yeah, that's the difference. And so people panic when they come into a situation like this. So as long as they're breathing, we would do that. If they weren't breathing, we would be doing CPR. And obviously that's something I would teach. So we would make that distinction.
So what could somebody expect from attending one of your classes, Helen? What would be the process? Is it one-to-one? Is it groups? How does Daisy First Aid operate? So
generally they're groups. I can do one-to-one, but generally they're groups. So I would organise classes in community centres, village halls, but I also come around to people's houses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would take the class to you in your house, as long as there's a booking of 4 people or more, and then it's a nice relaxed way to do the class. And the class is really relaxed. It's focusing on you learning. There's no tests, there's no role plays, there's no scary talking, not stories. It's just literally learning what to do.
Which is an invaluable learning experience. And I know that Daisy First Aid as a brand is something that's supported by quite a lot of celebrities, having seen all the Twitter feeds and profiles on Facebook and social media. It's
Yes.
something that seems to be quite pioneering in terms of first aid for
absolutely.
personal use. Well, thank you for coming into the studio
That's not a
today,
problem.
Helen.
It's been a
How
pleasure.
can people find out about how to get in contact with you, Daisy First Aid Milton Keynes?
So you can find me on Facebook.
Yeah.
On Instagram, you'll find my webpage, which is www.daisyfirstaid.com/Milton Keynes. All of those ways, you can email me. You'll find all my details on the website anyway.
So you're everywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
You're everywhere. Thank you for coming to the studio. It's been a pleasure having Helen in the studio with us today. For more information on how to access Helen's services for Daisy First Aid Milton Keynes, you can check out her website and equally check out our website, www.mumpreneursmk.co.uk, or check us out on our social sites, Facebook. We are also live on Instagram. We have got lots of episodes coming up for you. That's going to be quite like what we've just spoken about, Helen. Hopefully mumpreneurs who are going to be inspiring your entrepreneurial journey with their stories. So do be sure to check out some more videos below. But for now, from me, Bianca Chappell, and from Helen from Daisy First Aid Milton Keynes, goodbye.